Good afternoon and welcome to week 1 of the 6-week Power Tools class brought to you by Do the Healing Work. My name is Paris Nichelle, also known as Shango Didi, and I will be instructing this class as well as your unpacking sessions that are part of the class curriculum. So with week 1, what we are going to be studying is what is called Ofo Ashe. You spell that O-F-O-A-S-E. And that is in the Yoruba language spoken by the Yoruba people of Southwest Nigeria, which is in West Africa. And what Ofo Ashe literally means is powerful words. Okay? Ofo Ashe is means words. Ashe means power. And more specifically, Ashe is a creative power. So Ashe is the power to create. Okay? So women specifically are naturally born with Ofo Ashe. And for the purpose of this course, when I say women, I'm referring to babies that are born with vagina and a female reproductive system. So that's no hate or shade to people who identify as women or transition into women. But for the purpose of this class, I'm talking about naturally born women. And in this day and age, it is important to specify that. So women, natural born women are specifically born, natural born women specifically, are born with Ofo Ashe because we are born with what is called Odu, O-D-U, which is again another Yoruba term meaning the womb, okay, which is the creative force both physically and metaphysically. So Ofo Ashe are powerful words that are uttered with the intention of creating. They are the catalyst to incite the direction and consequential impacts of what it is that we wish to create. So what does that mean in just regular schmegula-degula words? Ofo Ashe are words that we say, whether we say them intentionally or unintentionally. They are able, once spoken, to be able to create something that did not otherwise exist. Okay? So it is important to understand that words are an energetic source that carry frequencies and travel on wavelengths. So what does this have to do with power tools? Well, that is one of the very first tools that you have to learn to master. If you look at some of our elevated ancestors, if you look at some of our elevated leaders, a lot of them don't do a whole lot of just arbitrary speaking. A lot of the people who have become successful, they understand that A, time is money, and that B, their words carry impact. And so they typically when they just spout off, and most of the time, once they have gotten to that level, they don't just say things. Why? Because they understand and have mastered the fact that their words have a certain impact. And so as women that are seeking to empower themselves, their community, their families, it is important that we also take that position, that we are very intentional about what we allow ourselves to say. And take it a step further. We have to be very intentional about what we even allow ourselves to think and dwell on. It is okay to have a passing thought that may be not so pleasant or not have the impact that you want. But you have to be very careful to A, not allow it to manifest itself into words, and B, not allow it to linger. Because anything as a woman that you pay an exponential amount of attention to is going to be created, is going to magnify, and it's going to be able to manifest in the physical realm. I'm going to liken it to the fact that words are like, say, a bat, okay? And Ashe is the ball. So whatever it is that you're focused on bringing to this realm, Your words are the bat that are going to direct it to where you want it to be. The ball is going to have the necessary impact based on those words. Okay? Or even if you wanted to flip it around, with the ashe being the words and the ball being, the ashe being the ball and the words being the bat. And I think I just said the same thing twice. Y'all know me, it's fine. But whatever it is, however you want to flip it, understand that words determine the direction and ensure that the ashe has the intended results. Okay? So here is where we're going to stop in this class. And we're going to do an experiment. Okay? So say this word, happy. Say it again. Come on, say it out loud. Happy. How does the word happy make you feel? What energy does it carry for you? Take a second and think about it. And if nothing comes up right away, repeat the word again and allow that vibration to take set in your spirit. How does that make you feel? This is a good time to have pen and paper where you can just kind of jot it down if you're doing this exercise by yourself, which you should be doing. Okay? So jot it down. How does the word happy make you feel? Does it make you feel happy? What is the first thing that pops into your head? Is it that happiness is unattainable? Write it down. How does it feel? The first thing that comes to your head, is it, oh yeah, I feel happy right now, or it feels good? Or does it have kind of a connotation to it that does not make you feel happy? If it doesn't have the intended connotation, because we all understand that the word happy is supposed to have a positive energetic vibration to it. But for some people that have been through a few things, or maybe deep in their psyche, they don't believe that they deserve to be happy because of who they were before, or some of the things that they've done, or whatever it is, write it down. It's okay to put me on pause while you write it down. That's the benefit of having this be a recorded class and not live. So write it down. Because journaling is definitely going to be a part of your homework. So by now, if you're watching this, you should have already gotten the email that has all of the tools that you're going to need to be successful in this class. And a journal and a good pen is definitely one. Okay, so write it down. What thoughts or what energy does the word happy bring up for you? All right, let's try the next word. Funeral. How does that feel? What energy does the word funeral carry for you? We have a physical or a taught connotation to what the word funeral should mean, right? But because of your own experiences, because of some of the things that you've gone through, the word funeral could very well have a different connotation for you. So it's important to understand what energetic vibration do certain words bring up for you. This exercise is not necessarily just to focus on the connotation or the energetic response your body feels or your mind brings up to certain words, but rather it is for you to understand that words have energetic vibrations already embedded into our psyche based on our life experiences and the experience that we attach to certain words. So try saying the word funeral again. How does that feel? What vibration comes up? What experiences or memories start to come into your mind when you hear the word or say the word funeral? Now, for some people who have not had death come close to their home or close to them. They haven't had anybody that was very, very close to them pass or transition. Funeral may not or will not have the same connotation or energetic vibration as somebody else who has, hey, lost somebody very close, a mother, a father, a mother and a father, close friends. That word won't have the same impact as somebody who has experienced those things. So write it down, and we'll discuss it in the unpacking sessions. But write it down. What connotation, what energetic vibration does the word funeral bring up for you? What is the first thing that pops into your head, or the first feeling that floods you? Let's try another one. Smile. Try it again. Smile. For me, it is very hard to say the word smile without actually smiling. For somebody who has an issue with their teeth, somebody who has an issue with their lips, somebody who was told that they didn't have a pretty smile, somebody who thinks that they don't deserve to smile, a smile, the word smile is going to bring up a different set of emotional reactions, energetic reactions, from someone who maybe loves their smile and does it often. For me, for a long time, smiling was something that I did with my mouth closed because I always had an issue with my bottom teeth. They're crooked. At this point, I don't give a damn. So I smile, right? But for someone else, it will have a different connotation. So write it down. Can you say the word smile without slightly smiling? Let's try frown. What does that bring up for you? Write it down. Okay, so that is just a quick exercise that will let you know what, number one, that words carry energy. And not only do they carry energy, but you can feel it. Feel the energy once you're focused on it and feel the reaction that it has on you. Now, what's funny is that we live in a society that has gotten very, very used to quick, microwave, automated responses. So typically when somebody says, "How are you?" most people will say fine, because that's our go-to response. And even the person asking a lot of times does not take the time to actually pause to see what your response is. It is less common for people to be truthful or to actually be intentional about the response to that question. Fine. Okay, so let's try this. Because whether or not you're being intentional or automated, you're still sending out a vibration. So let's try this. How are you? Amazing. Try it. How are you? How did that feel? Now let's try this. How are you? Fine. How are you? How did that feel? How are you? Amazing. How are you? Fine. How are you? Fine. Do you see the difference? They're both positive words, but amazing has a much different connotation as fine. Two different energetic responses. So keep in mind that whether you are being intentional or not, the words that you put out still have an energetic frequency, connotation, and a transmission. Okay? So the next thing we're going to talk about is manifesting versus creating. Okay, because manifesting seems to be a trigger word right now. Everybody wants to be a bruja, nothing wrong with that, and everybody is manifesting. Okay, so let's look at what manifesting is. To manifest is to display or to show evidence, to prove or to appear. So manifesting means that you are just going to show evidence of. That's it. To create is to bring something into existence, to cause something to happen as a result of one's actions. So to create and to manifest are two different things. You cannot manifest something that you have not worked for. Simple. So for the purpose of this class, we are not manifesting. We are creating. We are creating healing. We are creating abundance. We are creating intention. These are the things that we are creating. We are going to create things and then manifest them. You see what I did there? We are going to create them and then manifest them. You cannot manifest what you have not created. One can only manifest what has been created. Because that is what a Foashe does. It utilizes powerful words with the intended purpose of creating. That is the sole reason why we pray. And also, it's the metaphysical basis of the very real praying mothers. If you have ever been to a church, right, especially an old school church, the prayer warriors are typically women, the mothers of the church. Okay, and so by proxy, when you have the Odu, you already have the power to create the life that you want. Just by birth, okay? The issue comes when we have all of these things that have happened to us from age 0 until the time that they bury us, right? And somewhere along that line in that process, typically when we are children, we're taught that certain things are impossible. At worst. At best, it's impractical or unlikely. And somewhere along the line, we believed it, didn't we? We used to believe that we can fly until somebody, usually an adult, tells you that it's impossible. It's possible. We just haven't created it yet. Just like your healing is possible. And you have taken the first steps to creating it so that it can be manifested. Because we don't want to be stuck in pain, do we? We don't want to be stuck in who we were 10 years ago. We want to be constantly growing and having the tools that are necessary to be the best wives, to be the best mothers, to be the best sisters, auntie, brothers, but most importantly, to be the best us. The first tool that I'm teaching you how to use is the power of your words. And it may seem like a very minuscule or light thing, but it's not. Because it is the first step to mastering yourself. If you can control what comes out of your mouth, most importantly, if you can control the voices in your head that tell you that you can't, that you're unworthy, that you don't deserve it, that you're not ready, that you're afraid, that you shouldn't do it, that you are who you are because you've had to protect yourself, that you're not worthy of being a mother, that you're not worthy of being a wife, that you're not worthy of these things, that you're not worthy of having success. Those voices that tell you that you're competing against other people. Those voices that tell you that you're never going to be enough. Those voices that tell you that you don't have what you need and that you need other people, that you can't control yourself, that you can't control your temper, that you can't control your mouth. Those things are lies. And the people who told you that are liars. You've been sent here to this class to master you. I'm not teaching you how to make love spells. You don't need it. You don't need it. You are a magician. You cast spells with your mouth. And we don't need a wand that can be misplaced. The tools that I'm teaching you are the tools that you already possess. All I'm going to teach you how to do is use it. That's it. You are inherently magical. Just because you are. Just because you are. And it's time for you to know that. So now, the question becomes, what are we creating? What is it that you want? What is it that you dreamed of having? What is it? What are we creating? What are we going to create together? You let me know. Now, how do we use Ofoashe? Well, we use the words that have the correct energetic frequency to what we are choosing to create. I'll say it again. We use words that have the correct energetic frequency to what we choose to create. So how do we know what words have the correct frequency? Well, the first thing is that we have to tackle the trauma that all of us, right? It's not just you, it's not just me, but we as women, specifically Black women or women of African descent, typically have trauma of some sort attached to certain words. So the first thing that we need to do is find out what that trauma is. And number one, we need to identify what words cause certain things. The next thing is going to be, don't be lazy. Don't be lackadaisical about what you allow to transmit, what you allow yourself to think, what you allow yourself to say. You have to be intentional. You also cannot be lackadaisical about what you allow yourself to take into your psyche. For example, trap music. I love it. I love Jeezy. I do. I love Plies. I do. I love Waka Flocka. Don't judge me. I do. I do. But I want you to think about how certain music affects your energy. Have you ever been bumping trap music on your way to work or on your way to a meeting or on your way anywhere? Don't matter where, really, right? And then you're listening to this certain type of music. For me, it's trap music. That's my shit, right? And I know I used to listen to that when I was in a sales position on my way to work every day. And when I pull up, I used to have to sit there for a moment to kind of decompress from the music that I was listening to. So if any of my friends or really coworkers would walk through the parking lot, hey girl, I'd be like, what do you want? Don't you see I'm selling dope? Right? Of course, I'm not selling dope. I haven't done that. But that was the energy that I was taking in, right? And in my mind, I was using that energy to prepare to sell these people what I was selling by any means necessary, right? So I was preparing myself, getting myself amped up and ready. And there's nothing wrong with that. Listen to your trap music, but be intentional about what it does to your energy. And are you able to switch it off? Or are you still selling a pound of dope in your mind and energetically? If you think about some of the rockers and the dark and the heavy metal and the Marilyn Manson and the Kurt Cobains and all of those type of things, and then you look at people who listen to that type of music, a lot of times they are doing the same things that those rockers are doing, right? And a lot of times you'll find those kids overdosed or on something that they can't seem to get off of. Why? Because that is the energy that they are taking in. And they have not learned how to push it back out or not to take it on at all. So you have to be very conscious about what you're putting into your spirit, what you're putting into your psyche, what you're putting into your energetic pool. Because they absolutely have an effect. Words have an effect. If we're going to talk about or look at it from a Christian persuasive, even the Bible talks about the importance and the power of words. John's 1:1 says, in the beginning there was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. And the Word was God. When God created creation, the earth, he didn't do it, right, physically. He said, let there be light. Words. Even in the Eurocentric version of the Bible, where we already know that books and books were taken out and it was changed in metal, what they could not take out was the historical significance and the symbolic significance of the scripture. When people transition typically to African spirituality, they like to say, oh, the Bible ain't shit. White Jesus, white Jesus. That's an elementary school way of thinking. Understand that it all originated on the continent. And all the Bible is a whitewashed, Eurocentric way of looking at ancient science, ancient African, more specifically, Northern and West African science. So unfortunately, when they came and they took the teachings of those Africans, they thought it was literal, because that is the way that Caucasians speak. That is the way that the early, not the early, but the more the 18th century, 14th century Arabs spoke literally. But West Africans do not speak literally. They speak in parables. One thing doesn't mean one thing. One thing means 1,000 things. And it can be kind of hard to understand unless you were raised in that type of environment. But they do the same thing in the Caribbean. They do the same thing in Africa still. They do the same thing in melanated populations. And the Bible is no different. What that passage taught was Ofo Ashe, the power of creative words. You see, even in the Bible, Psalms 82:6 says, ye are gods, or you are gods, sons and daughters of the Most High. Because just like the Orisha, just like the other entities, we are created by the Supreme Creator himself or herself. Even Jesus Christ said, I did not leave what I can do, the least of men can do. How much more so for the melanated woman? So please understand, when I reference the Bible or any holy scripture, it's all relative. And when I'm referencing it why I'm referencing it is because it all comes from North and West Africa. These are stories that come from the continent. And so I'm not endorsing any other religion, to be quite frank. But what I am saying is that there's truth to everything. If we're going to talk about Islam, even the Quran says, Allah turned to the sky and it had been as smoke and said to it. He didn't want wave a magic wand. He didn't move his hands around. He didn't do any of those things. Said to it, come together, willingly or unwillingly. And it did. Because here's the thing. When you get into really studying the African traditional religions, you understand something that the Bible tried to allude to but couldn't quite grasp. Just like it said, just like I mentioned before in Psalms 82:6, ye are all gods. What that means is that we all have God matter. And a part of God matter that we have is knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Knowledge is masculine, wisdom is feminine, and understanding is the creation or the meeting of both. See, there is a difference between wisdom and knowledge. Knowledge is just information. That's it. Wisdom is applied information. Meaning, we have taken that information, we have used that information, we have applied that information, and we now have a deeper understanding of what it is that we're doing, or what that information truly means in a practical, physical sense. Once we have the information, we have applied it, now we have an understanding. Okay. Now our highest self, our highest consciousness is made up of that very primordial matter. It is called Oro. O-R-O. Oro. God matter. And Oro, again, is a culmination of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. We are all inherently born with that. Women couple that with intuition and the ability to create because of our God matter and intuition. And Odu, our wombs. No entity from the higher invisible realm can affect us without the permission of our highest consciousness, including the ancestor, spirit guide, Orisha, angels, whatever you want to call them, and that includes blessing and obstacles. Hence the Hermetic law, so above, so below. You cannot create anything in the physical realm that you have not created in the invisible or heavenly realm first. What do I mean by that? Light travels 6 million times faster than sound. Let me repeat that. Light travels 6 million times faster than sound. Why is that important, Ia? Here's why. Light equals consciousness. So, consciousness, or whatever is in your spirit, in your mind, even if you say, I'm fine, if you are not fine, and in your conscious, via regular conscious or subconscious, if you know you are not fine, that is the vibration that's going to move 6 million times faster than anything that you say. That is why affirmations either work or don't. Because if you don't believe what it is that you're saying on a subconscious level, the disbelief is going to move faster than what you're saying. You are not going to be able to convince yourself verbally of what you don't believe consciously. Don't work like that. Don't work like that. So anybody who's selling affirmation work and that's all you need to do is just say, I am beautiful. I am beautiful. And you'll believe it? Bullshit. Sorry. It does not work like that. You can say I am beautiful all day long until you're blue in the face. If you don't believe that on a subconscious level, you will continue to create situations that further proves that you're ugly. Because that is what you believe. It's not that you're actually ugly. And I'm sure plenty of people have told you, you are so pretty. You are so fine. You have a beautiful smile. It doesn't matter what other people give you if you don't believe it. It doesn't. It doesn't. And the universe will continue. Your Ori, your own consciousness, your higher self will continue to put you in situations that to teach you or to discreate that belief that no longer serves you. And so you'll have a situation where you have option A, to stay and deal with it, or option B, to believe that you're better than this and walk away. We have all been in relationships, I'm sure, where people have said, this does not, girl, you deserve so much better. Or a job that's not paying you enough, or a situation that is not beneficial to you. And we have had people say, sis, what are you doing? You deserve more than this. You are better than this. You need more than this. And we stayed put. Why? Because you didn't believe it. And it may have been that that situation ended up closing itself. It may have been that that man or woman or whatever it is walked away. Because they were never supposed to be there. It was a lesson. And if you didn't get the intended lesson, guess what? It's going to come back again in another way until you get it. Why? Because you got to believe that you are beautiful. You got to believe that you deserve to be happy. You got to believe that you deserve financial prosperity. You got to believe that you deserve to have a family. You got to believe that you deserve to be somebody's wife. You deserve to be somebody's mother. You deserve to have good health. You have to believe it. And if you don't, you're going to keep having situations replay themselves that show you that that is your belief. That is why we did the exercise a few minutes back. When you are doing these affirmations, what is the energetic connotation or attachment that you have to it? Because when you say words that are supposed to have a positive attachment to it, if it doesn't for you, you're going to have a battle between yourself. And when you get intentional and get focused, you'll be able to feel it. You will. That's the purpose of this class, to teach you to feel it. Sit down and pay attention. Don't fiddle with your phone while you're doing the class. Put that shit down. Get your notepad and paper and focus. When you say certain words, what is the attachment? Because if you don't believe that you deserve to have money, you could have a bunch of thousands of dollars come in and you will be irresponsible and spend it and not have anything. Not because you don't deserve to have money, but because you don't believe you deserve to have money. And in order to make that prophecy come true for you, you have to inadvertently do things to lose it. If we get focused, we can look at a time where we sabotaged our damn selves. We can see it. It's not just about saying the words and understanding the attachment to it. Once you feel or understand the attachment to it, it's time to unpack it. So that when you say certain words, you no longer have that. The words can mean what it is supposed to mean, and it could feel as it is supposed to feel. That's the purpose. Because again, when we do not, the same way, right, we have the power to create a situation. We have the power to create a belief. Because understand it or not, the belief system that you have, you created it. A lot of times we form beliefs based on an experience that we have as a way of coping with something that is painful. So what happens when we move on from that situation that was painful? If we don't just create the belief, it still affects the way we think and move. Now, the good news is, because we created the belief or made an agreement with the belief, we also have the power to discreate it. I'll tell you a story. Became a mother at 19. I was in a relationship that up until that point was fine. It wasn't perfect. We were young, but it was okay. As soon as I got pregnant, things began to unravel. Well, we are being influenced by our beliefs, whether we acknowledge the belief or not. As mentioned before, I come from a family of single mothers. My mother was a single mother of 2. My grandmother was a single mother of 6. My great-grandmother was a single mother to 3. My great-great-grandmother was a single mother to 3. My grand-aunt Dotsie was a single mother to 13. And so on and so forth for generations back. I have 4 aunts on my mother's side, all single mothers. Every single one of them. When I was 6, my mother did get married, and she was married for over 20 years. But around the time that I was getting married, or had met my husband, she was getting divorced. So unbeknownst to me, I had the belief that I did not deserve to be someone's wife. I was only good enough to be a baby mother. That prophecy became self-fulfilling. 25, I had my daughter. The minute I peed on the stick and got a positive pregnancy test, her biological father disappeared. I did not see him again until about 3 weeks after I delivered her. This ain't no sob story. So my mother, probably about 2 years later, a year and a half later, my mother invited me to a course called the Avatar course, which teaches very similar things to what I'm teaching now. Not exactly, because it's not African-based. It's actually Eurocentric-based. But basically, they take some of the information from different faith pantheons and they combine it and they kind of strip it down to the basics, right? For people to understand, specifically Eurocentric people. Nonetheless, I digress. So in that, they have what is called resurfacing. And what that's designed to do is to take those negative beliefs that you may not even know that you have and polish it and help discreate it. Okay? So in that, and it was an intro session, a forgiveness session. And the lady asked me, what do I have to forgive? Like, what do I need to forgive? And I was like, nothing. I'm good. And she was like, well, have you had a situation where you maybe need to forgive somebody? Well, that lady couldn't have known that before I walked into that class, I had gotten into a blowout argument with my oldest son's father. And so I said, well, yeah, you know, I don't feel like I need to forgive him for nothing. He ain't shit. And he does things that ain't shit. And I really just need to come to grips with that. I'm just raising this child by myself, and that's just what it is going to be. She said, well, what part did you play in this? Part? I ain't playing no part. He is who he is. That had nothing to do with me. She said, well, you have a child with him, so you had to have played some kind of part, right? And I was like, Then I had an attitude, right? I said, well, I guess I chose him. She said, well, were you all married? I said, no. She said, well, why not? why is this chick all in my business? I looked at my mom like, I'm not giving her all the information. And she just went through. My mom was like, just be open-minded. I was like, whatever, right? I'm 25. I got 2 kids. I was 26. I had 2 kids. I was angry. I didn't feel I had nothing to do with that. And I wasn't going to allow that lady to make me the bad guy. Well, anyway, I did what my mom said. I kept an open mind or whatever. And the lady just kept digging. And finally, it came out that I had a belief I was not worthy of being a wife. And so, unbeknownst to me, I chose men that would never make me their wives. They were emotionally unavailable. Because why would I be looking for a husband if I didn't believe that I deserved to have one? Oh, but I said I did. In my mind, I said I did, right? In my heart, I thought I was looking for a husband. And I said it out loud. That was a part of my affirmations, that I wanted God to send me a good man. But those were derailed because they weren't actually beliefs. Although that's what I was praying for, I never really believed that that those prayers would ever be answered because I didn't feel I deserved it. Now, one would say, why wouldn't you feel like you deserve it? You weren't a bad person. I wasn't a bad person, but I didn't believe that. You see, in addition to our own trauma, unfortunately, we inherit not just the wisdom from our ancestors, but trauma that needs to be healed as well. And it's a big responsibility, hence the Power Tools class. So let's move on from just the Ofo Ashe, because we're going to continue throughout this class to do exercise to strengthen that muscle and to teach us how to identify a misalignment, because that is essentially what it is. When you are saying something that should have a positive connotation and it causes you to feel anything other than what the vibration should be, that's a misalignment. Or if you're trying to create and you're having trouble creating, I guarantee you there's a misalignment there somewhere. And we need to pull out what that is. Okay? So let's take it a step further. Womb consciousness. The womb is mirrored by the black hole in the galaxies. It does not let anything escape. The womb itself has a consciousness and will consciously release whatever it is holding when it is ready. When you are pregnant, they do have scientific ways to make a woman deliver a baby. But there are women who they have tried the Pitocin and tried to induce them every way, south, north, and east, and west. But that baby came when it was damn ready. I am one of those. They tried. And the next day, they had already scheduled my mother to have a C-section. I was 2 weeks overdue. And she was on the phone laughing and talking to my aunt, preparing to get the C-section the next day. And her womb broke. She actually was on the phone praying that she didn't have to have the C-section. And she said, I wish my water would break and this baby would just come tonight so I would not have to get a C-section tomorrow. And my aunt said, just relax. Just relax. The C-section ain't that bad. And besides, she'll come when she's ready. And while my mother was still on the phone, her water broke. What did she do? She spoke it and she created it. And her womb agreed with it. And here I came, born 11 o'clock the next morning. Because of our ability to create, and because nothing escapes, we must be extremely careful of what we allow to enter the womb. This does not only apply to penises or sex. of any kind. Yes, that, but that's not what I'm really talking about here. What I'm talking about is we take trauma, stress, anxiety, pain into the womb, and it affects our ability to create. The negative or impure attachments that we have for words, as well as experiences that should have a positive or neutral frequency, for us, it hinders the intended creation. Say this word, money. What's the first thing that pops into your head? I love money, or there's never enough of it, or I have trouble holding on to it, or I'm a money magnet. People use that affirmation all the time. I'm a money magnet. I'm a money magnet. I'm a money magnet. But do you believe that? Or have you struggled for so long that in your mind, in your consciousness, you believe that money is hard to come by? Or money is not important? It's like being when you have a misalignment as it pertains to certain experiences or words, right? It's like using a warped bat. It'll hit it, but it doesn't send it where it should, right? The aim is off. It's like using a gun that has not been calibrated. The aim is off. So you can point it in the direction and shoot, but it's not going to hit the intended target. Why? Because it needs to be recalibrated. So a word like love, if there is a negative or complicated attachment that hasn't been unpacked, it will cause a blockage when trying to create or manifest a loving relationship of any kind. In order to create, there must be a clear runway to land. What I mean by that is, you can have a plane full of blessings or a plane full of people. But if there are things on the tarmac, that plane can't land. So it will just continue to circle and circle and circle and chase its own tail and go around and around and around, or go to another area until it has a safe space or a cleared space to land. We have to clear out that emotional attachment, negative attachment to certain things in order for the other things and the blessings and the things that we want in our life to be able to land. And then we can manifest it. So above, so below. So what haven't you unpacked? What is it that's blocking you? Because keep in mind, the womb can only be pregnant with one thing at a time. Even if you're carrying twins, it still comes from one pregnancy. You will never be 6 months pregnant with one child and then get a month pregnant with another. Like, that doesn't happen. The womb can only hold space for one pregnancy at one time. So what does that mean? We have to release the baggage so that we can manifest and create intuitively. So, I want you to write this down, and there will also be slides with the homework, okay? Unpacking session. You deserve abundance. I want you to write down, what is your first feeling to that affirmation? I deserve abundance. Say that. I deserve abundance. What is the first feeling or thought What is it that you feel first? Don't clean it up real quick like, oh, no, I don't want to say that. No, you got to be honest with you. What is the first thing that you feel? Why? Write that down. You're going to first write down what is the first thought, what is the first thing that you feel. And the next thing you're going to write down is why. And I want you to use your intuition. Allow your ancestors and your highest self to guide your pen. Write it down. What is the belief attached to the affirmation, I deserve abundance? Write it down. Does it still serve you? Does that belief serve you well? That's a yes or no question. The next one, I am loved. What's the first thing you feel? Why? What is the belief? Does it serve you? Next question. You are enough, or I am enough. Same thing. First feeling, why? What is the belief? Does it serve you? Last one. I deserve to have what I want. That's a big one. First feeling, why? What is the belief? Does it serve you? Did I say that one was the last one? Psych. Last one. I am free of guilt. Once again, I am free of guilt. First feelings. Why? Why is like a situation that, okay, so when I say I am free of guilt, because I've done this exercise, it doesn't make it, I am free of guilt. I don't feel guilty for who I was. It was what it was, and I was who I was based on who I felt I needed to be at that time. The question then becomes, why? Why did I feel like I needed to be that person? Well, I was sexually abused at 2, became a single mother at 19, again at 25. I, had some abuse issues, physical abuse. I felt like I was rejected by my biological father. That made me be somewhat bipolar. I would snap. My temper was horrible because I'm very, very sensitive, and I felt like I wasn't accepted. Nobody truly understood me. Nobody truly loved me. I had all of these issues rolling around. So I became very, very angry. You couldn't say shit to me. I was uncoachable. And, it was my why. Why? Because I felt like I needed to be that person to protect myself. That belief no longer served me. So I changed it. I am loved. I am important. I am sane. I am protected. I am deserving of love. I am a good mother. I'm a good wife. Most importantly, I'm a good person. So do I feel guilty for who I was based on what I needed to be? No. I am free of guilt. Because being guilty for who I was no longer served me. Those are the type of answers that I'm looking for. Dig deep. All right? So I hope this class helped you. If you have any questions, email dothehealingwork@gmail.com. Again, that is dothehealingwork@gmail.com. And I will be emailing out unpacking session coupon codes because it's free as a part of this class, but in order to schedule it online, you have to have the coupon code to do that. So I will be emailing that out as well. Everybody has 6 unpacking sessions, 1 for each class, for each week of the class. And again, if you have any questions, just email me and I'll talk to you soon. Peace and light.